Over the past decade, the trend of resurrecting dead celebrities and de-aging older celebrities has become a more and more common practice for film and television. Some recent examples of this are Peter Cushing in Star Wars Rogue One as Grand Moff Tarkin, Audrey Hepburn in that one chocolate commercial, Christopher Reeve in The Flash, and even Tupac as a hologram at Coachella. Over the past few years, generative AI technology and deepfake technology have become more and more prevalent, advanced, and terrifying. The use of this technology in film and television and art in general is a practice that I frankly don't agree with and think is ultimately terrifying for the future of art. After seeing Ian Holm resurrected for Alien Romulus, I feel like it's finally time that we need to have a true, genuine discussion about these types of practices in film and television. I'm Josh from Just Mash. Let's figure it out. What's happening and why? In film and television right now, there are several instances where dead actors are being digitally resurrected to give a performance that they did not consent to. By using generative AI and deepfake technology, this is essentially taking a dead person's face and voice and pasting it onto another actor's performance for essentially money. A lot of people will argue that it's a good faith thing, it's honoring the legacy of a fallen actor, it's getting to see a loved one on screen again, but ultimately that's not what's happening here. If you want to honor a dead actor's legacy, you should watch their old work. We shouldn't constantly be digging up their graves to put them in movies to say, oh, remember that face? That's just not how you honor a dead person's work. I think this is happening for a lot of reasons. One, obviously being the money. You can save a lot of money by not building any new stars and putting current faces in a movie, with instead just paying a dead actor's estate and putting their face and likeness in a movie so you can point to people and touch on their nostalgia glands and say, hey, remember this guy? He did this thing that one time? Come see it again. A lot of times we see these movie studios constantly talk about how it's easier to play it safe than it is to take a risk. To them, taking an opportunity on a new franchise, taking a chance at an unknown actor, is way more of a risk than resurrecting Ian Holm to play his character in Alien. Now we're even getting to the point where they're preemptively locking these actors and actresses down for these deals before they're even dead. James Earl Jones signed a lifetime contract with Disney where they can use his voice long after he's gone for Star Wars and The Lion King. Mark Hamill's consented to them using his likeness for Luke Skywalker long after he's gone. This is not a particularly new strategy. It's happened a couple times before in the past, but generally in a project where an actor has died prematurely before the project has been finished. An example would be Nancy Marchand, who played Tony Soprano's mom. She died prematurely before the show ended, so they crafted a performance with a mix of CGI and unused takes. Another example would be Marlon Brando in Superman Returns, Paul Walker in Furious 7, Carrie Fisher in The Rise of Skywalker. The more we as fans and people engaging with these films and television accept this as something that's okay, the more and more it's going to happen, and ultimately that is bad for the future. Why this is bad? Before we go any deeper, let's look at Alien Romulus specifically. Alien Romulus is a 2024 film directed by Fede Alvarez, which is a sequel to the original Alien film. And in Alien Romulus, they resurrect Ian Holm and have him play an AI in the film called Rook. In the original Alien film, Ian Holm played an AI named Ash. In theory, it makes sense that a same model would exist under a different name that would share the same face as Ian Holm in this universe around this time. That makes sense. The idea of that doesn't necessarily bother me. What does bother me is having a large majority of the film revolve around Ian Holm or a fake Ian Holm's performance. This is deepfake technology used to make this robotic android look like Ian Holm and generative AI to replicate Ian Holm's voice. What we're left with is this weird, uncanny valley performance that doesn't quite feel like Ian Holm, only vaguely looks like him, and ultimately just turns into something that you just watch through gritted teeth and squinted eyes at throughout the rest of the film. This is bad for a lot of reasons, one being they could have got another actor for this. I know that Fede Alvarez and Ridley Scott have talked about how Ian Holm's wife was in support of this, how Ian Holm felt ostracized by Hollywood in the later years of his life, and to her this felt like an opportunity to honor his legacy, which I do understand. There's a lot of personal nuance to a situation like this. But ultimately, if important filmmakers like Ridley Scott and up-and-comers that are very talented like Fede Alvarez believe in this type of technology and believe in this type of stuff, we're in big trouble. No new actors are going to have an opportunity to make a name for themselves or to become legendary like Ian Holm did when all we're doing is relying on people like Ian Holm from the past. Imagine if a young Marlon Brando got turned down a role because Hollywood just wanted to go with an older dead actor that they could just paste their face on. Think of all the great artists and performances that we're missing out on because many studios would rather just resurrect dead celebrities instead of trying out new ones. The other part of the problem here, from an artistic perspective, it might look like Ian Holm, it might sound like Ian Holm, but it's not Ian Holm. Part of the art of acting is the individual expression that is brought along with it. When you paste someone's face on another actor's performance, that doesn't make anything genuine. Think about the emotions that actors are able to convey with their faces. Think about the way that their lips move or the way that their brow furrows. All of these things are intentional decisions that actors are making with the emotion that they're bringing to these roles. When you just paste someone's face over another person's face, there's no intention behind anything that's happening. When someone else's voice is being transplanted onto another voice, there's no inflection that means anything. Think about a way an actor would deliver a line more emotionally here, or more angrily here, more happily here, sad, funny. None of that means anything when it's a computer doing the job. None of the words even mean anything when there's no person speaking them. It's just a bunch of sounds put together by a computer, ultimately meant to manipulate you as the audience and try and make you feel something from nothing. I get as nostalgic as anybody does, right? I love celebrating what's come before, but I also want to pave a path forward for the future and acknowledge what comes next. I think using an over-reliance of the actors that came before us and ultimately exploiting their image in the way that it's happening currently is a really gross practice and is one that does not bode well for the future. Is this ever okay? Now, ignoring these social and political issues at play here using generative AI and deepfake technology and all the horrors that that can bring to our social and political worlds, just looking at it purely from an artistic view with film and television and music and all that sort of stuff, is this ever okay? Are there any circumstances where this can be justified or excused? The first one for me that comes to mind for is this okay is the use of Harold Ramis's likeness in Ghostbusters Afterlife. Harold Ramis was one of the original 4 Ghostbusters, and he passed before Ghostbusters Afterlife was ever even thought of. In Ghostbusters Afterlife, Harold Ramis is resurrected as a CGI ghost that helps aid the Ghostbusters in the climactic battle of the film. Now, I would be an absolute liar if I said that I didn't love this when I first saw the film. Even now, it's the only example that I really kind of am not sure what to think about it in regards to this topic. I haven't seen the film since I first saw it in theaters in 2021, so maybe I would feel differently now. But looking back when it happened, I thought, this is a sweet tribute from friends of this guy to their deceased friend, doing the one thing that they all love doing together, and that's acting in these films. They got one last opportunity to be seen on screen with their friend in a really sweet way that paid as an awesome tribute to Harold Ramis. But does that make it okay? Now, I'm not saying that I am the leading authority on anything, pretty much in regards to any topic whatsoever. But I think that we can all kind of have this conversation of, when you pass, is it acceptable to really resurrect you for any reason when it comes to these matters? Now, another example of this type of technology is de-aging older celebrities, deepfaking a younger CGI face onto an older actor. While I think this is a different issue, it's in the same vein and ultimately one that doesn't feel as heinous or sinister because it's still that actor delivering a performance just essentially in the same regard as wearing makeup or prosthetics. To see De Niro in The Irishman or Robert Downey Jr. in Civil War, to see Jeff Bridges in Tron Legacy, I don't think that I necessarily have a problem with utilizing that technology in that sort of way. At the same time, though, when you look at Star Wars and The Mandalorian and the way that Luke Skywalker is used, they're using Mark Hamill's face and they're using Mark Hamill's voice, but it's not Mark Hamill at all. They're using a complete stand-in with AI voice to make it seem as if Mark Hamill is the age that he was during Star Wars. And that's not quite the same thing as an actor portraying themselves at a younger point in their lives. If we cling on to the idea of Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker and only Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker for the rest of time, we're going to miss out on some incredible interpretations of that character. Just think about it. We have like 8 or 9 Batmans. Some of them are great, some of them are bad, but they're all valid in their own ways. Imagine if for the last 60 years we've only had Adam West as Batman. That is the future we're headed towards. We're going to miss out on different interpretations of characters. We're going to miss out on unique takes on film, television, and books. How long is Michael Keaton going to be Batman? How long is Michael Keaton going to be Beetlejuice? How long can Harrison Ford be Indiana Jones? How long can Harrison Ford be Han Solo? If we always kept this mindset, we never would have got Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi in the prequels. Would you rather have only had Sean Connery as James Bond from the beginning to the end, or are you cool with Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig? Even going back to the days of Shakespeare, the long-honored tradition of an actor handing off a role to another actor has been something that has been a healthy requirement for the life and blood of theater and television. Ultimately, whether you're doing it to honor a loved one or to have an iconic imagery from the past, I don't think we're ever going to be at a point where this is okay. Nostalgia is not a bad thing, but it is a drug. Too much nostalgia is a bad thing. We cannot rely on the past to move forward. In order to move forward, the past has to stay in the past. Michael Keaton coming back as Batman is cool. It's a great idea because it's a new take on that character. We're seeing Michael Keaton as an old man come back into the role of Bruce Wayne in a different version of that world. We're not seeing Michael Keaton with awful CGI made to look like he's 30, still battling Jack Nicholson. There's room to enjoy Batman 89 with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson, and there's room now to enjoy Robert Pattinson as the Batman. But that doesn't happen if we don't move forward. For the most part, I liked Alien Romulus. I thought it was a well-made film. I liked the story. I liked the performances. But it is heavily, heavily weighed down by the use of Ian Holm in that film. And I say by the use of Ian Holm, but it's not the use of Ian Holm. It's CGI trickery and AI nonsense to make you feel like it's Ian Holm, but ultimately it's a bunch of nothing. It's a hollow ghost of a performance with ugly CGI that really distracts from an otherwise pretty cool movie. As Bob Dylan says, everything passes, everything changes. And we really, really have to respect and admire what the role of an artist is in their lifetime. We're all on Earth for a finite amount of times, and artists really offer something unique to themselves that does last forever. But when we try to make those artists last forever, it just doesn't work out. Artists create these emotional works that they put their souls into that everybody cares about, so the next generation of artists can build upon that foundation and create something new out of it. This is how music, acting, literature, all of it, this is how it's all gone since the beginning of time. We cannot let our generations be the one to put a stop to that and go backwards. It's a sensitive issue, it's a tricky issue, it's one that we'll probably be debating for a very, very long time, but my official stance on it is, it's bad. Generative AI is wrong, it's not art, it's not performance, it's not something that belongs anywhere, and deepfake technology is something that will only lead to troubles in the future. This is an issue that's probably going to plague us for a very long time, but we need people to stand up against it and talk about how it's wrong. Generative AI and deepfake technology is not anything that belongs anywhere near the artistic world in any realm of possibility. I hate to do kind of a downer of a video, but I really felt like this was a topic that was very important and worth talking about, especially after the release of Alien Romulus. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I've been Josh from Just Mash. Until next time.